For those who think that going around in small circles is an easy task, newsflash, it isn't. Close quarters with the banking stacked up, many drivers jostling for position, and the very real threat of being boxed behind feels like wrestling out of a paper bag. The paper bag was duct taped up from the outside. This is the Southern 300, and it's unashamedly difficult to handle. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Global Sim Racing channel for live coverage of today's European Majors event. I'm Jake Sperry, here to bring you all of the action, along, of course, with Christian Challoner here as we go through. You may see a Peter Mackay at some point in time today. Ryan Bauer is doing the duties of cameras from GSRC HQ, while Dougie Beard provides the aforementioned cameras to us for this one. Not every track has such a difficult day in store, but today is about how you manage a quietly difficult paced oval here in Lucama, North Carolina. It's a track which, for all intents and purposes, is very difficult. It is stacked up to the max as we get things sorted. A 4/10 mile around this place, and Christian has all the details surrounding this very steep circuit.
Yeah, absolutely. 17 degrees of banking in the turns. Obviously, the straightaways are quite short, with it only being a 0.4 mile oval, but it kind of gives a feel, like I was talking about pre-broadcast, a little bit like a high-banked Martinsville with shorter straights. And it's very, very action-packed around here. We're probably going to see bottom line be quite dominant, I would think, with drivers trying to get in from the top. But you can make moves work on the top side, especially if you have fresh tires, and there's unlimited tire sets. So we'll have to see if anybody can make that top side work.
Yeah, we certainly will see if that certainly works. So we're going to see how that plays into the factors today. But let's get a little bit of a look on how this track works with our GSRC track guide.
Southern National Motorsports Park has a few distinctions. Opening in 1993 as a 4/10 mile oval in Lucama, North Carolina, the NASCAR Modifieds and Southeast Series made stops here regularly, in addition to the weekly racing. The track closed during the recession in 2008, but reopened only a few years later. Since that reopening in 2012, the 17-degree bank turns have seen nearly constant action. Racing occurs throughout the summer, with 16 weeks of that action featuring various late model divisions, street stocks, and Legends machines. Regional Series make stops here, mostly consisting of cars in the super late model and late model varieties, but even some Truck Series make stops here, adding to the diverse car type that turns laps. The Thanksgiving Classic is one of the premier events at Southern National, with everything from super lates to trucks to bandoleros having races here over a 3-day span. Now it's time to watch some racing in front of 4,500 strong at Southern National.
Well, that is how we go around this place. The scene is very much set today, but what isn't yet set is our storylines and how this season has been going so far. Let's take a look at our pro drivers standings. This is the top standings in the championship, and it is Dallas Pataska who is at the top, 390 points and looking very strong today here at Southern National, but it's 22 points back to Pete Harrod, who, by all intents and purposes, as a former champion in the Euro Major Series, has the ability to go out there and score some big points. Sam Harper currently finds himself in third, 38 points back, with Kurt Crum in fourth, and Tim Kleissens rounding out the top 5. That is going to be something very much worth keeping in mind. Christian, you've been keeping an eye on the Sportsman Championship.
Yeah, so over in Sportsman, Adam Fasaponte has a pretty sizable lead. 34 points this year is a lot more than 34 points there was in the past. That's kind of more equivalent to what 340 points was last year, for example. So that's a pretty big lead that he has over Sean Brown in second, but it's a tight battle there. Brandon Kluge is only 6 points behind for that second spot. Colin Ward, 58 points off the overall lead, so he's a little bit further back, probably out of that fight for third, I would think. And then Jan Brony is 62 points back, but again, within a shot of taking that fourth spot.
The shot is very much there. Let's head to Legends and see how those drives are doing, and it's an even more dominant start for David H. Baker, up at the top, 310 points, 47 clear of Ray Partridge, with Bob Beltrami making it a really close fight there for second and third. We'll keep an eye on that over the course of today. Claude Belval currently in 4th, and Richie Hearn rounding out then the top 5 overall in the Legend standings. But there's more than just Legend standings here. Christian, you've been keeping an eye on Legend Sport.
Yeah, so Legend Sport is actually probably the closest championship that we still have going. Colin Ward is actually leading Legend Sport with 4 points over Jamboroni, so both of those in with a shout of actually kind of taking home maybe even 2 titles. Wolf Dietrich Hutto is actually still in a shot with this as well, only 8 points back. Simon Thorne's a little bit farther back, probably actually out of the fight for the overall win with 25 behind, and then Peter Dolmeyer is definitely out of the fight for the win, but holding strong there in 5th place, 66 points back.
It's not just individual championships though today. The team's pro is what's definitely on the line. Grizzly are 1 and 2, but there is not a dry eye in the place because they know it's going to be a tearjerker for 2 of the 3 teams over the course of this season. Grizzly TFR Daytona 11:48, 13 clear of Grizzly TFR Le Mans, and then you look back another 14 points. The Bombshell Racing team have just been quietly sitting there in 3rd, and they're ready to attack. Dog Bear Euro currently find themselves in 4th, and Team Mad in 5th position in that division as they hold on to that. And finally, Team Sportsman, Christian, looks like it's a bit of a runaway.
Yeah, Sportsman has kind of been dominated the entire season by Missed Apex F1 Podcast Team 1, and they've really opened up the gap. They're 141 points out front now over Hanson Brothers Racing in 2nd. HW Racing there, pretty much locked into that 3rd spot as well. They're 224 points back. Black Tree Race Crew with 361 back, and the 2nd Missed Apex F1 Podcast team, Team B this time, is 398 points off its sister team that's leading, but looking to take 2 top 5s there for both of those teams.
Jokes with Missed Apex F1. They run their team names in hexadecimal, apparently. So they'll be having a really good time of things today. But Christian, what are we dealing with today? Round 12, we know that every round's a bit different here in the European Majors Series. What's the challenges today?
Yeah, this is really a unique one. Obviously, in the past, we've had things like Silver Crayons and whatnot, and they're like totally their own beast and whatnot. But 300-lap race around Southern National, that's honestly probably the longest race that these guys are ever going to have done in the late model here. So they have unlimited tire sets, and I think that might play into something towards the end of the race, especially if we see, say, a long green flag run and then a couple of cautions to round it out. That could definitely play a factor. We might see drivers being able to move forwards on new tires. You don't actually tend to fall off too much with the late model tire, but obviously if you've been out there for 50, 60 odd laps or whatnot, you are going to want to come down for a set. There is one fast repair, as always. I hope that we don't have to see too many people use it, but I kind of have a feeling that people are going to need that.
They very much might do here today. There are no green-white checkers here at Southern National either. That's going to be the big thing. Keep in mind here today that if it does get to lap 297 onwards, and we do see ourselves with a caution flag, that is going to be it all over for this one today. But let's get a little look then at what we're dealing with about 2 minutes away. The track conditions out there on circuit, at least for practice, look interesting. You see 87 degrees Fahrenheit air temp, 104 track. And Christian, 104 track, that's generally on the hotter scale, which means that drivers have themselves a little bit of ease. If you want to talk in, I would say, more British terms or European terms, 40 Cs. That's still quite hot.
Yeah, that is pretty hot, and I don't expect that it's really going to cool down much as well. The in-sim time is 12:58, so just after midday. And I don't expect that we're going to run the race long enough that the track is going to cool down substantially. If anything, it might actually get a little bit hotter first as it kind of moves into the first part of the afternoon. We'll just have to keep an eye on that. But the good news for drivers is that obviously the track temp is probably going to be quite stable, so at least they're not going to have to worry too much about changing handling balance. And with the track state being carried over as well, they're not going to have to worry about the surface rubbering in or whatnot.
No, they're certainly not. And of course today we race for a lot more than just the thrill of racing. Today we are dealing with cancer, as well as our charity drive goes to the Cancer Society New Zealand, who formed in 1929 when the New Zealand branch of the British Empire Cancer Campaign opened in Wellington with the conquest of cancer as its mission. The society continues to have a national office in Wellington, 6 autonomous regional divisions and centres within the divisions, as the focus is on locally funded provision of support services, health promotion and information appropriate to the people in each area. The Society is a proactive advocate for cancer patients in New Zealand, providing a voice on all kinds of issues, including screening, detection, and treatment. For more information, go to www.cancer.org.nz and make sure that you help get things going. Timing almost perfect for us. We are about to jump ourselves down to the starting grid as drivers very swiftly will soon be starting their engines here today from Southern National Motorsports Park here. Wonderful oval circuit. Practice brings itself then to a close, and we can take a look at some of the drivers today on the grid and where they stack up. Championship leader then will be on pole position. Dallas Pataska will be there with Matthew Thunhorst in second position on the outside, with Trevor Vavrovsky and Sam Harper third and fourth. Ryan Mayer will go from fifth along with Ray Partridge. Great qualifying there in sixth place, with Brian Barnes and Travis Henderson seventh and eighth. Justin Kirby was the fastest in practice, starts ninth with Joshua Wolf in 10th.
Eric Mickey actually outside the top 10. We're not normally used to seeing him back there. Kodak Cologne alongside him in that 12th spot. Ross Banfield, Wayne Hutchinson line up in 13th and 14th. David Malneritz and Isaac Snyder actually pretty far back as well. We've seen Snyder have some really strong runs, especially in the mods earlier in the season, so expect to see him moving forwards. Jeff Schmeier, Kurt Crum, another driver pretty far back in the field. And Pete Harrod, driver who was in contention for the championship, starting really far back in 19th alongside Tom Dreiling. Then we have David H. Baker and George Gruber lining up at the tail end of the field.
22 drivers then taking on the Southern National Challenge today. 300 laps. They should take 2 laps here behind the iRacing sedan safety car out there, or pace car as it would be known. And it's a very nice nondescript iRacing sedan out there. If you actually look at it, the badge for the iRacing sedan is an iRacing badge. So keep that in mind as it goes through. It's a nondescript sedan as they'll be looking to try and get them up to pace. Expect passing to be difficult early on. Expect this to be about drivers trying to work out what they can and cannot do. And it will be a battle to get down to single file on this Southern National track today. So what can they manage as they exit 1 and 2? They'll be taking 1,200 left turns today over the course of their race, if they are lucky, that is, to make it over to the checkered flag. Expecting the pace car now to dive down in. Let's get ourselves going. Barney the flagman's got the green flag in the air, and we are racing here from Southern National immediately. 4 fall down to the bottom of the circuit to go single file. Sam Harper's there already, one turned in the background. We've got a caution immediately here at this Southern National track, and the issue early on is for Brian Barnes getting himself caught out in the 17 degrees of banking.
Yeah, it looked like he was trying to get down there to the bottom line, and he was almost in a bit of a 3 wide for a second, was trying to get right down onto the apron, and I think he just grabbed it a little bit on the exit. And he's not going to have any damage from that, I don't think. Very, very light contact with the wall here, but obviously not the way that you want to start the race.
Well, there is a bit of crumpling on the car at the front, which is not going to be ideal. We take a look at this on the replay. It's such a very difficult element as you go through. Just looks like he's grabbing the apron ever so slightly. There is a very tough distinction here, of course, Christian, between track and apron, just by the way the track rubbers in on the surface.
Yeah, it is very, very difficult to kind of get the idea as to where the apron truly starts. And I've actually seen in some races in the past where drivers will be actually using the apron to turn the car, and especially if you're kind of in that situation that he sort of was there, where up ahead is checking up, you can sometimes make a pass work on the apron. So you have to be very, very careful of it. It can obviously, as we saw there, hook you around very, very easily, but sometimes on restarts it can be worth the risk. And I don't think it was worth the risk on lap 1, but I also don't think that's what he was really trying to do either. I think he was just caught out by everybody up ahead, just taking it a little bit easier than he was expecting.
Well, there you can see Isaac Snyder here racing there with the very nice bed on the left-hand side, as he'll be looking to get himself ready and up through the order. One caution early on. Keep a caution count, ladies and gentlemen, as we get ourselves around this 300-lap affair. That's a quick and early one to get through, and some even say that if you get yourself a quick caution, there's the adage of caution breeds cautions, but there's also the one where they calm them down. Back in the air and going. Lap 6 we go to start, and the green flag we are underway. Vavrovsky looking really good there in third position, taking to that low line, the natural line as they fight for position. That on the outside of Vavrovsky is going to be the real key here today. Ryan Mayer trying to get himself into play, not quite being able to manage that at the moment as they fall single file. The front five at this stage, the battle for sixth is really starting to heat up at this moment. Travis Henderson and Sam Harper. Harper's going backwards.
Yeah, you can really see that Henderson's actually really sending it in on the bottom of the track. I've seen him wash up quite a few times now, and he's obviously pushing quite hard, especially at the beginning of the race. I don't think it's really necessary to get to the front as quick as he seems to want to, but obviously he has a game plan that he's sticking to. Unfortunately, the 88 at Ray Partridge, he's really been knocked around right now. He's going backwards in a hurry.
Yeah, he got bumped a little bit there, and all around behind, there goes the 12. There's a big stack up and a caution. The number 12 machine, that is Joshua Wolf, finding himself in all sorts of troubles. He was really trying to get aggressive low, and it looked like the 50 of Cordell Cologne just tapped him from behind.
Yeah, it looked like there was a little bit of misunderstanding as to what was going on there, but what's really going to hurt for the 12 here is I think he's now lost the lap. He wasn't able to get back going quick enough. He's now behind Pataska.
Yeah, it's definitely not ideal, especially as well in terms of that scenario. This is from Pete Harrod's perspective then, as he rounds 3 and 4 going into 1 and 2. This is how much of a sight you actually get of the incident there. So he's right in front of it. Now watch this. He's got to go high, 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 and he manages to get out of that. And that'll be really good for him today there, Christian, because he's got Dave Crozier in his ear, giving him all the information as a spotter.
Yeah, and it's actually quite hard to sort of pull the car offline once you're in the corner like that. It's very, very easy to sort of overcorrect out to the outside wall. You sort of unload everything in the front end and the nose pops up and whatnot. So it's quite hard actually to avoid wrecks on short tracks. It's always kind of, you get those situations where everybody's like, well, how did he drive into that? And it's really, really hard to pull a car offline once you've committed to it. So a great job there to get around that and not actually kind of have his own incident at the same time.
Absolutely, and the one more thing that we'll say about that incident, Cologne is struggling with technical gremlins out there, so it's very difficult for drivers in and around to work out where they actually need to be spotting up to give the room or not.
Yeah, and I've just seen that Wolf has been dropped to the tail end of the line, so he is now definitely 1 lap down. He'll have to hope for a lucky dog.
Yeah, he certainly will be hoping for that, and it's going to be a long road waiting for that next caution out on track. The good news for drivers is that the track is mostly cloudy, so we are expecting it maybe to cool a little bit later on, and the longer that this race goes, the cooler it is going to get out there. We're not expecting drivers to come in for pit stops as of yet, but maybe if we find ourselves a little bit further on down the road, we might be seeing that as an opportunity. 2 cautions so far, as we look like we're going to be getting back to green flag running on lap 15 here at Southern National of 300. Pace Sedan dives in. Pataska has led every lap so far. We've got a green, and we're going again for the 3rd time. Dunhorst again leaving himself quite nice, and it seems like the outside works well off of these restarts. And again, Ryan Mayer trying to get the 915 into position here. The 43 as well of Justin Kirby has made some great progress up through the field so far, already up 3 or 4 places. They fall back into that natural line as they start attacking. Mayer now finding himself a little bit boxed on the outside.
Yeah, especially on the restart where everybody's kind of 2x2 and sort of packed up on the bottom. You can kind of sort of squeeze the car on the bottom if you run in the top side and hurt their exit enough to get a good enough drive off to maybe clear them if you're kind of nose ahead sort of situation. It's when everybody strings out and there's a lot of opening on the bottom and everybody's not kind of checking each other up, that's when the bottom becomes pretty much the dominant lane to be in.
It certainly does. Still got a bit of 2 wide. Ross Banfield at the moment. Here's a look from Justin Kirby in the Black Magic Motorsports car. Looking down low, forcing a lane open there with Travis Henderson. Wouldn't have been too pleased to have to leave the space there through 3 and 4. But that is the nature of short track racing, Christian. You've got to really maneuver your car in there. And if you want to make a move, you put the car in a position where it's 50-50.
Yeah, it was pretty aggressive there, and you saw the 24 had to sort of move up the racetrack to get out of the way, but now you can see in that battle, well actually this time he's ran pretty high. We've got a car around. It's Eric Mickey, I believe.
It is Eric Mickey, and they just about fan out of 2 and just about get away with it. So Eric Mickey, number 86, someone who is very accustomed to what's going on. There's a secondary wreck as well that we'll need to keep an eye out on. But here we go through 1 and 2, and it's the 69 car of Davin Melnarovic who gets the tag, and then it's just a little bit later on, they still continue that wreck, going off of the exit into turn number 3. So it looks like there was another little bit of an issue there. We've just gone either side of it. Then as we go through, can't quite work out who that was, but ultimately dramas there in the early goings, and the last thing that you want is to wreck after a caution.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think they were kind of all sort of not really sorted out, trying to get around the spinning car of Mickey, and there you can see, I believe it's Ray Partridge and the 13, which I think is Isaac Snyder, our onboard driver.
It very much may be at that stage, and that will be very awkward. There was Isaac Snyder. You're absolutely right there, Christian. And that's the sort of thing you deal with. You're trying to get yourself through. You're a little bit discombobulated because you've just avoided an accident. And there you can see he's actually propped up on 2 wheels. And Snyder here, trying to get it turned around. He's actually lucky he hasn't rolled that car. He's gone very much Dukes of Hazzard onto 2 wheels.
Yeah, very aggressive spin around there. It kind of looked like Partridge was making his way through and had a little bit of contact with somebody else, and was as you say, he was just all kind of out of sorts and trying to line himself back up. And unfortunately, I don't think he realized that Isaac Snyder was underneath him there.
Well, Isaac Snyder still looks very calm and composed there in the number 13 car in front of him. Looks a little bit battered up. That's the 17 of Wayne Hutchinson, who has had himself a little bit of issues early on in this one. Worth noting as well here right now as they line up 2 wide, Josh Wolf has got himself back onto the leading lap. He's now in 21st position.
And I think he's actually just dropped back off the lead lap. I think he got the lucky dog, but he wasn't able to take the tires and repairs in time, and he's now had to let the field go by.
Certainly has. David H. Baker's got away with it. He'll be nicely in position. Those are the pitfalls you get around Southern National. You don't have long when it comes to pitting, but here we go, lap 26. We're back to racing. Green flag and a bit of bumping there off that start. Funhorse with a shot to the back from Ryan Mayer, who thought that he'd got the count correct and very much would have been offside flags. 5-yard penalty, still first down as he went through turn number 1 looking to challenge, but a nice good getaway once again. Taska's really been unchallenged at the front so far.
Yeah, and I think this is really Pataska's plan, just basically lead the entire race. It sounds easy and whatnot, but, you know, it really does start off with taking the pole, and then it becomes a lot easier after that because you can control the restarts and whatnot, especially in short track racing. That's a huge deal. If you're controlling the restarts, it's very, very hard for someone to pass you.
Certainly is. Mayer still trying to make the outside work. He's not getting much help up there. iRacing's dynamic track will simulate different grooves working around the course of the track, but it's going to take a bit of work to make it happen around a track which is so aggressive on the banking like this. It's really a slingshot style track. You throw in through 17 degrees of banking, as you can see, a brilliant mid-pack scrap going on right now as they go all the way through. It's all stacked up behind Snyder here. You've got Hutchinson on the inside, Pete Harrod there on the outside. He had a little think there of trying to make it 3.
Yeah, I mean, you can see right there, the 13 struggling to get off the corner on the top side. He's not really pinching the 17 as much as maybe he needs to be able to clear himself, and the 17's actually making some ground forwards. Last time by, I think 13 aside tried to close the door, and the opportunity kind of gone at that point. The problem for Harrod now is he arguably looks faster than Snyder, but there's nowhere to go.
Absolutely, stuck on the top side. He could slot in behind the 1-2-3 of George Gruber, the German driver down there, and he has that opportunity and will do so out there on track. So a little bit of freight training happening there up on the top side. Ryan Mayer still in 4th position, couldn't quite get it sorted. It's now behind where the battle's going to be. Travis Henderson, and working the bottom fantastically so far has been Ross Banfield. He's up 7 spots.
Oh, and Snyder just got nearly half spun there, but then straightened up. Looked like he had contact with Harrod trying to get underneath him into turn 3.
Well, as easy as that, sometimes you've got to be a little bit forceful. The lightest touch to the rear, and Harrod, with all the experience of touring car, knows how to put a car right again. So a tap to the back, a tap to the front, and through. No harm, no foul. Carry on, continue racing. Some brilliant stuff. On with Brian Bars in the Dog Bear Red car as he looks to try and get through. He's now got himself up into the 15th position. Top 2 have broken away. They are 1.7 seconds clear of the field. Pataska and Funhorse, looks like it's going to be a straight-out shootout between those 2 drivers today.
Yeah, Funhorse is a driver that we've not seen for a while, but was obviously very, very active in the major series, especially in the Americas region. And Raced against him on both road and oval, and he's a very capable driver, so it's good to see him back. I know kind of last time out he maybe didn't have the greatest of times in the wildcard round. I think at the RX race in Hell, it really didn't go the way that he was planning, and yeah, good to see him back, and hopefully he'll have a better run today. But if there's anybody out here I think can challenge Pataska, it probably actually is going to be Thumbhorst.
Definitely does look that way. Another position loss for Isaac Snyder then, as Justin Kirby, making his recovery back through the field, gains the place, and that will be Joshua Wolf, who got the lucky dog, still got the damage on the left rear fender, will be trying to get through next. So everyone's there, and you can see now Wolf immediately from attack to defense. That's Eric Mickey trying to get down to the inside. You can tell it's Eric Mickey. Look at those bright blue rims on that Monte Carlo as he goes by.
Yeah, very, very distinctive paint scheme here, and you see someone in the background there having their own kind of issue right there. Something I've noticed, though, so far in this race, we're only 41 laps in, but everybody's been pretty aggressive, especially with passing on the exit of turn 2. There's been times where drivers have kind of had a little bit of overlap, but those situations where, you know, you sort of let it go and you're like, okay, I'll let you come back down kind of thing. But there's none of that going on today. Everybody's no quarter given, no matter what, it seems.
On board with David Milnarovic, I got a little bit scared there for our onboard driver Isaac Snyder, who had a huge moment getting loose through 3 and was fortunate enough to keep it out of any respective trouble. Let's catch a look on the Global Sim Racing Channel replay. So here's Snyder going through into 3. This is how easily it can go wrong. Back steps out, has to try and find it and bite. It's the cost of 2 places for the troubles.
Yeah, and that's something that we'll see a lot of as well. Passes made when people are making mistakes. That's kind of a really big part of short track racing, especially at a place like this where it is quite hard to pass. You kind of have to force mistakes, especially where they're driving too deep, because they do wash up to that middle lane. And obviously for Snyder there, he's kind of having a time of it right now. He didn't qualify so well, but I thought he would be a little bit stronger in the race, but obviously it has not started out the way he would have liked.
Yeah, certainly hasn't. There is Isaac Snyder as he deals with his race. Got a bit of 2 wide as well, just in front of that group as they go through 1 and 2 once again. And it's Wayne Hutchinson in the 17 trying to make a move right now. You can see some brilliant work here in the mid to late, and there goes the look down low. Hutchinson getting by Partridge. Gruber's going to try and follow suit, and again, you know, Ray Partridge has been stuck on that outside and has been struggling to get some turn in into that Monte Carlo.
Yeah, Partridge has obviously fallen back from where he started. Started up in 6th spot, now back down to 12th, so really going the wrong way for him. Gruber, on the other hand, has gone completely the opposite way. He started tail end of the field and is now up in 11th already.
It's certainly working out there. Up 11 spots, so you're halfway through the field. You've only got 1 more half to go, George, but this is the tougher half as we are almost a 6th of the way through, going on towards lap 50 of this race, starting now for Dallas Pataska, who is not a million miles away at this point as we look at the battle for 3rd between Trevor Vavrovsky and Ryan Mayer from actually dealing with lap traffic around this short track.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a big part of this race, especially with long runs. And you know, when you're kind of coming up to the tail end of a line that is essentially just a bunch of cars battling each other, it's really hard to make your way through that because they don't want to give up anything. And then what we're probably going to see here is when a driver, say Snyder, lets Pataska by, he'll probably try and follow Pataska through as he's passing his next car. And that's a good way. Obviously, if you're a lap down, you don't want to be a lap down, but you know that's a good way to make positions for yourself to kind of follow the leader back through the pack.
That's Isaac Snyder back of the pack at this moment in 21st position. Josh Wolf 1 lap down at this stage, the only lap driver, but you know, there is going to be that common code of we're all in this together. You buy a ticket to the end, so to speak, but Tasker goes low. Isaac decides that he wants to leave him all the room, and there you have it. That's your first on-track lap pass that we have seen here today, ladies and gentlemen, and wonderfully constructed as well. Bit of 2 wide in the midfield, though. Tom Dreiling now trying to get through here on Ray Partridge. He gets the move done. And again, Partridge trying to work in the high line. It's not working up. Kurt Crum easily follows a way through. Now it's Justin Kirby's turn to the low side.
Yeah, this is what you do not want to have happen. Partridge is just totally stuck up there. He's going to lose pretty much his whole line. He actually gets in the fence. And Barnes, the unlucky one there, not able to get by. Mickey has passed.
And Barnes now too. So just like that, front of the train to the back of the train, and only took a couple laps and a tap with the wall. But it's such the fine margins that you go here. And when you have a short track like this, it's not a case of, okay, we're dealing with tyre wear, and on top of all of that, you're dealing with tyre wear, you're dealing with everything that goes around, and you're going to be understeering more and more into that wall as the stint goes on.
Yeah, and that's really what it looks like from his onboard perspective here. It just looks like the car's just too tight. So he does have some ability to kind of resolve that as the race goes on. Hopefully he'll be able to make either some air pressure or some wedge changes when he does get the opportunity to come down pit road. But yeah, he definitely needs some adjustments because he's going backwards in a hurry, as is Tom Dreiling. It brings out next caution, getting turned around in turn 3.
So he had a good stint there going through, but Dreiling finding himself around ever so briefly, throws the caution out, and it wasn't for a full spin. So there is Dreiling, and it was a lap later than this. So keep on this as this goes through. It's the 7 of Kurt Crum trying to manufacture a way through as he tries to get aggressive low. He was a little tap from the wall which opened up the line. He gets into the rear, and he's sent around 90 degrees. You break the plane of 90 degrees in iRacing, the caution gets thrown.
Yeah, he was very lucky he got actually straightened back up there by the 7, but that's kind of what I was talking about earlier, about how there's just no quarter being given at all. You know, that's a moment where you kind of might want to back off and let the driver gather that back up and get back down, but absolutely not. Apparently today we're going for everything, even when we're only 50 laps into the race.
Mayer in the pits, Dunhorst, Harper, Partridge, all deciding they want to get some service. Jeff Schmeier, who'd had a great opening stint to this race. Ross Banfield's going to dive in, and pretty much it's a case of twos in the train, deciding they want their stops and they want to get themselves into position. A lot of drivers here, because of the way that this track is and how short this track is, are going to lose a lot of time when it comes to the stops today, but that's the first real opportunity drivers have had a look at to say, we can get some fresh tyres on, get a fresh set of boots, go out there and really race aggressive.
Yeah, and something else we might see is drivers taking only 2 tyres instead of 4, just to make sure they do get out ahead of the pace car. That was very, very tight there. I think Tom Dreiling has managed to get out ahead of the pace car just about.
And drivers who haven't, Thunhorst hasn't, Schmeier and Partridge haven't, so they're all a lap down, getting caught out with full service then. Here, it's not going to be your traditional, you can get 4 done, you're going to have to do a 2 here and a 2 there, and you're going to be really alert to it. Pataska staying out is interesting. Bobrovsky now up to 2nd, and it's then Henderson into 3rd position and Melnarovic in 4th. Now that's going to be interesting to have 3 teammates, 2, 3 and 4.
Yeah, we no doubt probably see them give each other a little bit of space on the restart here, but it does mean that it's likely going to check up the pack behind, so we'll have to see if anybody tries to take advantage.
Well, here we go. Green flag. We're back underway. Lap 65 here from Southern National Motorsports Park. 300. We're battling in immediately. The 69 of Melnarovic finding himself stuck on the outside. Good moving here from the 17 of Hutchinson. Looking low, and watch out from the back of the pack moving forward. Those fresh tyres certainly will give an advantage, and we get that accordion effect in the middle over the course of this race. We get old tyres versus new.
Yeah, now this is an opportunity for somebody who has the fresh tyres to try and make that top side work. The only problem is there's so many cars that are still getting trapped up there that there's not really a lot of space to go for it. We see Mayer here. He's up here, but he's behind the 7, who's kind of stuck on the top, trying to get by Harrod on the bottom. Looks like he might have cleared into 3 here. Not quite. Going to have to stay on the top again through 4.
But he is going to get the clear off the exit of 4. That's going to be the key. So then it's going to be 9:15 to the outside, making it work a treat. And he's going to get a little bit boxed out there as he grabs the wall. Crum there as well. He's going to be shuffled way back down. They're 3 wide through 3 and 4 as the 43 looks through. That's Justin Kirby. This is where it gets dicey. One car gets out of line, and then everyone else for the next few laps are really digging for position. And 98 is completely boxed.
Yeah, it's actually some great driving going on right now with these guys able to kind of make these really tight corner exits work. The 98's been 3 wide now for full lap.
Oh, and his lap traffic as well, mind you. So this is one Mr. Matthew Dunhorst. He's desperately trying to get back the lap.
Yeah, and I think he has to. I think he has to try and get back the lap at the very least. So that, well, I mean, he is going to be the lucky dog position anyway, but obviously that decision to come down to pit road has really backfired on him. This is not where you want to be. This is where you get your race car destroyed.
Absolutely it is, and this is where great caution does need to be exercised over the course of this race. Ross Banfield looking good in 12th position. He's on the low side to Ray Partridge, who took the service, who's a lap down, and he's going to have to be very alert to the way that he's going to go. But you got drivers a lap down and on the same lap, both on fresh tyres trying to get back through. It's not a case of lap traffic just naturally filters back. This is what short track racing is all about, making sure that you're working together with cars who maybe aren't even in the same postcode as you.
Yeah, absolutely, and that is a huge thing. Obviously, if you're kind of on the top side and you've got fresh tyres, you're working with other drivers who have got fresh tyres, but you're trying to work past slower traffic and whatnot, you don't want to be trying to make passes on that guy ahead of you. You want to kind of sit behind him and let him do the work and just follow him, sort of thing. But if he's not getting it done, that's when it gets tricky, because then you have to start trying to figure out a way to get around him and whatnot. And obviously, the track's very, very tight. It's very, very difficult to do that.
43, Justin Kirby up on the top side, trying to get things done here on the 17 of Wayne Hutchinson. Diving low, the 98's just behind, and closing up is, of course, Ryan Mayer, 15.2 on that last lap. He was a 10th quicker than the leader, Pataska, so that's a good indication, 1/10 per lap on the tyres. Doesn't sound like much, but it's a 15-second lap, so you can say he's 1/60th of a lap quicker. If by 60 laps, he'll be a whole lap quicker.
Yeah, as the caution comes out.
Yeah, absolutely, and that is Dramas then out on track. I'm not quite sure. It's Tom Dreiling again who's been caught up top from 2, and he got a turn right in the backfield. That's Sam Harper who's got into the quarter.
Yeah, that's going to be really bad news for Dreiling, because he's dropped off the lead lap there. You see, got a little bit deep into 3 and 4, was a little bit high, then he's going to get stuck on the top side here into 1. Harper looks underneath him. Dreiling tried to cut back down and just wasn't quite clear, really.
No, it wasn't quite clear enough to be able to make the move, but that's sometimes as quickly as it goes through. Pete Harrod's in the pits right now, looking to get some service and out and away again, so he's looking to get things sorted, but that's just how quickly it can go by. 4th caution then here today. We're on lap 80 of 300 here from Southern National, and the lucky dog gets taken. Matthew Thunderhorst now back onto the leading lap of this one. Question's going to be, when do you take service in a race like this? A couple drivers thinking of it, so top 3 staying out. Dreiling, of course, is going to come in, but again, it's the sort of thing where if you're going to be staying out, you're going to be able to save a bit of fuel, save some tyres. At this stage, you're trying to extend it as much as you can. Eric Mickey's going to dive in. Kurt Crum's into the pits now. Isaac Snyder's going in. Thunderhorst is going to get a bit of repairs done to the rear, and Josh Wolf, of course, on rear repairs as well. So you've got a lot of different factors that go into short track like this. One thing has stayed the same, though, and that is Dallas Pataska has led every lap so far.
Yeah, and I think if you're Pataska, the way to run this race is pretty much stay out as long as possible, and then on the first caution you get to where you can come down and fill it up and know that you'll be able to get to the end, that's probably when you come down and take the tyres and the fuel, and probably not pit again after that, if I'm totally honest. That would be my strategy anyway.
Certainly would do, and it's going to be a very good strategy. That's why you are one of the elites. But let's get a green flag back in the air. Lap 83 starts for Dallas Pataska. For the first time, he's going to be under pressure from Treva Vorosky through 1 and 2, but they sort themselves up quite nicely. There's your big movers and shakers. George Gruber up 70 as he finds himself in 5th, and on the low side of 69, Davin Melnarovic.
Yeah, Gruber's got a really, really fast car today. Obviously starting at the very tail of the line, and didn't really expect too much from him, but yeah, he's having a great run. Kirby's going to get underneath him, though. Kirby does have fresh tyres.
He does. 777 of Ross Banfield up top side as well. 3 wide off the exit, try and make some moves, but again, it's a look low, and look at that from Kirby, just sticking the nose in, keeping himself in play, and that is so crucial. On board from Brian Barnes' perspective. Oh, tap! 50's going to go around and into the side, and there's going to be a caution. Is there?
Sam Harper's in it, Pete Harrod's in it as well.
There is. Oh, upside down. Someone's gone upside down. I think it's Eric Mickey, who's found himself tipped over like a turtle. He's got himself self-righted again, but that was a late call for the caution. He's thrown it in the wall in frustration there, trying to get that car turned around again, and that's going to be some heavy damage. You can see the car smoking.
Yeah, I hope he's got his fast repair remaining. I believe he does, but obviously using it 87 laps into the race, that's worrying for later on.
Oh, well, that was the first hit, and then the caution came out here, so everyone's trying to get through. The 50, the catalyst for all of that, Cordell Colo, who just got turned. Harper getting a tap in there as well. And when Harper had to check up, that was the key to the secondary bit of contact there. Sam Harper's tap, chain reaction, Eric Mickey upside down.
Yeah, a lot going on after the initial wreck right there. Oh, very unfortunate for Mickey. He had that opening on the top he was going for, and car just came up right in front of him, nowhere to go.
Absolutely. Free space, but the crash went up. And that's the issue. Look at that for avoidance. Try and go through. That is a very scary moment. Josh Wolf effectively howling his way around. So more drivers coming in then. David H. Baker's going to make a trip down to the lane, and so is Ryan Mayer. That's a really interesting decision there from Mayer to make the stop.
Yeah, and there's a couple of drivers who've already pitted a few times. I've seen Kirby come down at least twice, and I'm not really sure why. He was one of the very, very first to make a pit stop. And it didn't really work out for him. I think he just had way too many cars out there on equalized tires that he kind of couldn't go anywhere. The second time's worked out much better for him, though, and he's now up inside the top 5. I'm going to keep an eye on him because I think he can still keep moving forwards. But yeah, we've got a lot of drivers who are... I hope they know something that I don't, but I would not want to keep cycling myself to the back of this field. It looks a dangerous place to be.
16 drivers on the lead lap. Joshua Wolf is the first driver, a lap down with Pete Howard, Tom Dreilich, Jeff Schmeier, and Eric Mickey, Isaac Snyder, 3 laps down as we get ourselves formed up once again. We should be going green on lap 92 of this one. There is Isaac Snyder, looking to get himself ready, nice and calm. As per usual, he's at the back, he's 3 laps down, he's got a lot of work to do to get those lucky dogs to get back into position. He'll be hoping for a lot more cautions here. That's our 5th caution of the race so far. We're going back to green though here, and it's a late wait for the green, and that's allowing Trevor Vavrosky to get himself into play as Travis Henderson looks low side to try and get what he wants, and they'll try and shuffle back into position again, and nicely working. Here comes Kirby.
Yeah, Kirby's got a nice opening here. He's going to get to work on the 24 pretty quickly. Gruber unfortunately got trapped on the top side there, has lost a couple of spots, but has managed to get down to the bottom now.
Oh, into the wall. That's just behind Ross Banfield. That's Davin Melnarovic who's finding the freight train treatment at this stage. So everybody just trying to settle in. This is the mid portion of the race. This is where you'd say here, Christian, that work gets done.
Yeah, absolutely. And with everybody on pretty different strategies at this point, we're going to see a lot of kind of speed differential through the field. We see Thunhorst is actually now trying to work on Barnes, who himself is trying to get to work on Gruber. So it's also probably one of the most dangerous points of the race because you have so much divergence in strategy and some damaged cars out there. The 52 of Harper looks like he didn't elect to take his fast repair, but he is definitely off pace.
Definitely looks that way. You can see just how aggressive the strategy is. Dunhorst absolutely scything away through the field. He's on the back of the 1-2-3 of Gruber, and as well making moves will be Ryan Mayer, who just came out from the pits, and he's already looking up for 11th position. We look at it from Sam Harper's perspective in the very beaten up and battered 52 machine, but just like that, on the high side getting it done. That's the first real time we've seen the high side work.
Yeah, and I think this is a good opportunity for these guys on the fresher tires like Mayer, because everybody's pretty well single filed out on the bottom, so the top is completely open all the way to the lead. If you've got the grip, that's the place to be, and you'll get passes done.
One of the things that often gets talked about more in an IndyCar sense, we're almost 3 into 1. Harper gets shuffled away by Josh Wolf, who's a lap down, and he's going to be along with the lap down crew of Mickey and Howard and co, which is not where you want to be. One of the things we talk about is heat cycles in the tyres when you go for restarts. On a short track like this, how important is that going to be in terms of taking life out of the tyre?
It definitely matters, and the more times that you do it, obviously the worse and worse it kind of gets. You also have the difference of pressure builds versus kind of the fresh ones where you're quite a bit lower on air pressure. So it can, in a sense, on sort of the first 1 or 2 cycles where you've got the pressures up and whatnot, it can make the restarts a little bit easier, but then after that it sort of trends negatively because you are just cycling it around and round. The kind of downside of taking fresh tires, we see the 123 has been hit by Thunhorst.
Caution 6. Just like that, everyone's going to scatter around inside and outside of Gruber, who did the best possible, held the brakes nicely, And that's how quickly we can go from just talking about a nice, calm race. And that's, again, what we were talking about. 98 trying to make moves through the field of Matthew Dunhorst. He gets into the rear there of Gruber. And Gruber does a really good job of not dropping down low.
Yeah, that's really, really unfortunate for Gruber. Obviously, he'd moved his way forwards to the front of the field and has now got to do it all again. Dunhorst just a little bit opportunistic here, I think. He's not really there.
No, I think there he just saw the eyes bigger than the belly syndrome coming in. Hutchinson, Gruber, and Harper are in the pits along with Cordell Cologne. So they're looking to get some quick service, and they'll be back out and away again. And also what's interesting is going to be now how they battle to try and get themselves into the right position to attack. The 25 has just been keeping himself out there. He's not made any decision to come into the pits. It's been 105 laps out there. If he keeps this up for another 45 laps, he can one-stop this race.
Yeah, and I think that's his plan. I think he's going to stay out as long as possible until he knows he can make it to the end of the race, and then he'll make one pit stop, and that'll kind of be him done. And I mean, coming back to the whole thing about the tire cycles and whatnot, if you did not take tires, then the best thing that you can see is just kind of repeated restarts. It really, really helps you out. Obviously, it kind of equalizes everybody up. It lets your tires cool down, which gives you a little bit more grip, and obviously the guys who had the fresh ones, they're taking life out of them quite quickly on the restarts and whatnot. But one thing with the fresh tires, which I was actually just about to mention before we had that incident, is yeah, they're fast, but with the lower air pressures, the car is actually fairly unstable. So you do have to be quite measured in your approach, especially on that first lap or two.
Yeah, and that measured approach is what we'll be seeing here from some drivers. Others maybe not so much at this stage, as drivers look to try and get themselves into the correct positions as they look to get themselves ready for racing action here. Pace car's going to dive down in, and we're back underway here. Lap 108 of 300, and Tasker again leads them off. Kirby on the high side. Ross Banfield now looking to try and look good here. Fourth on back in the train. And this is how quickly you need to be aggressive off of these restarts. This is the point of the race where you maximize the most position gain.
Yeah, this restart's critical for Kirby. He needs to get down pretty much before Dunhorst gets to him. It doesn't like he's going to be able to get that done. The 24 drops down in front of the 777, gets turned around.
And a big one into the wall, and that's going to be everyone caught up. Massive issues, no caution. Now we get a caution. Everybody getting caught up. A huge junk coming into the home stretch, and that is what disaster is all about. 24 got a tap from Banfield, and then into the pit attenuator, and onwards came the crunch. The track was jammed.
Yeah, the road was absolutely closed right there, and it was kind of such an innocuous initial contact as well. Just one of those sort of lazy spins that happens, but unfortunately it dragged everybody down into that pit wall, and then as soon as that started happening, you know, everybody's on that bottom lane. You see the 98 and the 777 trying to go under it. Both of them end up in the pit wall, and everybody stacks in.
Yeah, it's as simple as one moment changes an entire race, and now you've got about 2/3 of the field back dealing with damage from now until the end of this one, and those fast repairs might just be crucial. So the 777 actually comes in, gets a little bit in. This is Tom Dryling's perspective here. Crum has actually done the most amazing thing out of everyone, is that he dived into the pits as that incident happened.
Yeah, and I mean, he'll probably get an end-of-line penalty for that, because I imagine the caution was out, so the pit
It wasn't
closed,
actually.
But okay, well, yeah, then that's literally the best possible thing he could have done, because it was the only portion of track, so to speak, that was open.
Yeah, got into the lane at absolutely the right time. Oh, we got a caution flag? Oh, don't mind me, I'll just take my service. That is beautiful work from Kurt Crum, and that is ingenuity at its finest.
Yeah, I'm actually really surprised he did take the service. I thought he would have just done the pass-through, but, you know, even better, it doesn't look like he's lost a lap, and he's got fresh tyres. That's going to work out brilliantly for him.
Certainly is. He's 11th position right now as he goes around. Kaska, Vorosky, Melnarovic. Brian Barnes has got himself up to 4th through all of that drama.
Yeah, no, a lot of good cars essentially out of the race. Matt Dunhorst now 3 laps down. He's going to need a lot of cautions to get back into contention here.
Certainly will, and let's not forget, you got Harrod, Schmeier, Dreiling and Wolf all laps down. Henderson and Harper now also a lap down, so we've got 13 on the lead lap as things go. There is Isaac Snyder down at the back of the field, still digging and moving about here, trying to get going. We've had 7 cautions here today over the first 115 laps. And we are looking like we're just about getting ready here. Pace car going to dive down in lap 116 starting. And Pataska leads us off once again. It's going to be all about how you battle in the early goings. Barnes, remember, has got quite nice tyres on, so he'll be looking to try and get attacking early on here in this run. And at least for the moment, they're nice and calm and settling into a rhythm. A bit of too wide here as they head into 1 and 2 again.
Yeah, and I think if you're Pataska, you've now got to be worried about when you're going to come down and take service, because pretty much everybody that has then been involved in something afterwards. So he's going to have to really take a thoughtful approach to when he's going to take that service to kind of minimize any potential damage that may occur.
Yeah, this is not an easy battle, that's for sure. You know this is going to be a long race here today, and if you can put yourself into position, there is always going to be a time and a place, and that time and place is right about now. There's Kurt Crum trying to get as much as possible out of it. Partridge is there just behind as well, and Justin Kirby's looking to try and get back through the field from 11th on up, and it's going to be a real slogfest here from this one onwards as he again looks to try and work the high side, get himself in. That dog bear car, though, despite the early tightness, has suddenly found a rhythm there down on the bottom.
Yeah, it still looks like he's struggling just a little bit, but he's definitely looking a lot better than he did earlier.
Caution. And it's our 8th caution here going forward, so that's not ideal in the slightest. And it looks like it's on the front, and it's Josh Wolf who's been caught out here. Let's take a look at the Global Sim Racing Channel replay, just how easy it can go wrong. They were pushing here almost 3 wide off the exit. Oh, the 54 already go. Whoa! That's a massive hit there going through. What?
Yeah, huge contact right there. The 54 kind of like flipping him out into the track.
Well, we can't broadcast what our director said. Let's get this in slow-mo. That's an incredible hit. You can see going through for the tap there. It's the 98 again that gets caught up, and then bang! You have no idea what's going on from this point onwards.
Yeah, I mean, for Wolf, that's really unfortunate. It's one of those where you see the car sort of go out of your view, of the 54 that is, and you think maybe I'm through it. No, he was not. Oh,
that's a huge hit, and thank goodness it's sim racing and he's okay. And let's just take a look from this camera. There he is in the back. Oh, he's gone. And back into frame, and that's how easily an issue can happen here at Southern National Motorsports Park. But we find ourselves then, after 8 cautions, lap 124 here at the moment of this race. And, you know, this is the gamble that you start to run into at this stage. How long are you willing to sit and wait for cautions to come along and to keep yourself behind? Because there might be a situation where we get green flag running for 30, 40 laps and you have to take a green flag pit stop. That's a disaster for those at the front.
Yeah, that's absolutely the worst thing that can happen. And I mean, we have seen situations where that does happen, and drivers who've dominated the race then go laps down and whatnot, have no chance. So you do have to make sure that you don't put yourself in a position for a green flag pit stop. I don't think we're going to see any today, if I'm totally honest. But I mean, for Pataska, these cautions are kind of saving him some fuel, so that they're actually almost making the decision even harder for him, because he could run an extremely long time with the amount of yellows that we're having before he actually needs to pit. But you never really know exactly how far that is until you kind of get to that point. So he's going to have to pull the trigger sometime.
Yeah, this is going to be really interesting to see. Pace car dives back in. We're back green here. Lap 127, and Pataska again with another good restart. Barnes once more looking up on the top side, trying to get a move done, but he's not going to get there, so they funnel out single file through the front 4, and just behind Eric Mickey getting turned around by Gruber, and he is spread eagle sideways. They try and avoid. We get a 9th caution, and they breed them here. Wow. Eric Mickey on the radio. What drivers haven't wrecked me today? What an important statement that is. You can see the rear is absolutely caved in as he goes through. Gruber with a small tap coming up the field, Christian.
Yeah, and we're seeing so much of this where you're getting drivers who are kind of in that middle lane, but almost clear, and then they're getting tapped and spun around. But the problem is that they're then getting pushed down the straightaway, as we saw there, and obviously then there's secondary incidents coming out from that.
You can see everyone's just trying to dive low and check up. That's why you see more damage on Matthew Dunhorst's car. It's as simple as you make a little bit of contact there, and now the front's, almost looking like it's about to fall off, which is not quite ideal in terms of the circumstances, but it'll be no matter here. One run around then, the 24 of Travis Henderson's going to get the lucky dog around the circuit, so he's going to get himself back on the lead lap after his pit stop going through, so he'll be looking to dive back through. And this is the thing with teams as well, you talk about NASCAR feeling like or oval racing feeling like a very insular and driver-only style of racing, Christian, but when you got teammates, you can run different strategies, and some will work and some won't.
Yeah, that is one advantage. If you have a couple of cars in the field, you can really get a good idea of how much tires are worth. Say you've got somebody who's at the back who can afford to sort of take that stop without losing any track position. They can give you a good idea as to how much faster the fresh tires are and so on. They can also probably give you an idea as to, if they come in and fill up, how far they can then go on fuel. So it is still helpful to have team cars out there. It is a little bit more everybody for themselves, especially in terms of race wins, I would say. It's definitely not kind of the European idea of teams where people will happily run 1-2 to get the 1-2 for the team sort of thing. There's definitely none of that as far as I've seen.
No, I certainly agree there. Keep an eye on number 7. Kurt Crum has moved himself up into 5th position and has just been avoiding the incidents left and right to get himself into a wonderful place. We'll be back underway, lap 134 here at Southern National, and it's a very early green flag, and that might have just caught Pataska out slightly there as Vavrowski tried to go up top. He actually had him at the line by 0.04 of a second, but it won't matter because Pataska's got the inside line. There's a reason why he leads the major series.
Yeah, Pataska just kind of didn't really go then when the green came out, and Vavrowski actually almost took the lead on the start.
Well, that sometimes can be a cause of smile for drivers if they are going to make mistakes. Crum looking down low, trying to get that position into 4th, and he gets by the 4 there. Brian Barnes, not much that Barnes can do. You can see the front just a little bit scraped there on the bottom as we've got a bit of 2 wide here. We're on board with Eric Mickey trying to get himself back into play. That's Cordell Cologne and Wayne Hutchinson right at the front, dealing with those battles. Partridge in front of him with Pete Harrod back on the lead lap.
Yeah, and Harrod looks like he's trying to make that top side work with Partridge underneath him. We know that Partridge has a car that's pretty tight, so if Harrod kind of pinches him a little bit, it's risky, but it should make it easier for him to get that pass going. The problem is, he also has the 17 ahead who is in the bottom line, who the 21 looks quicker than right now. Can he make the pass on him on the top side?
He gets up alongside, but no more than that. He's going to have to maybe fall into line. He's still going to try and attempt it here on that high side. They're single file all the way through up to that group. So Harrod's got a lot of work to do to make things happen. Remember, started 19th today. Has been trying to drag his way up through the order. Gets right up to the wall, going in towards 3 and 4 on lap 139. And this is all about focus here at this point. Running the high line at this track is always a tough ask to try and get done.
Yeah, and it's really because of how it works coming off of 2. It sort of flattens off quite quickly. And obviously, you can see the 17 of Hutchinson he's trying to run the 21 of Harrod up the track so that he can open out his exit and maybe clear him, but he's just not able to do it. But he does need to run up the track, otherwise the Harrod will just clear him easily on the top side coming out of 2.
That's incredibly astute of you there, Christian. And on top of that, it's the same story. Partridge and Ryan Mayer trying to get through. And you look behind, Eric Mickey starts to fall a bit backwards. Ross Banfield now trying to make a recovery back through. Mayer's looked really good. That mad sim racing car hasn't really had too much to argue with over the course of racing so far. It's going through 1 and 2 once again, and this is going to be the stasis pattern. If you can't clear the car underneath you and you're still going to be there, you're just stuck there. You can't really drop back because this car's behind. You can't really do much until you get that opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the problem is if you're kind of struggling to make the pass and you're slowing down yourself and the other driver you're trying to pass, it brings everybody behind into play. So you can see here, Harrod's actually finally given up on trying to make that work, but he pretty much had to make that call right now, because if he'd have waited a couple more laps, he was probably going to have Mayer and Kirby there filling the gap that was open.
Yeah, and now it's Mayer's turn to find himself on the express train out here of what is a really tough battle. He's got the tyres, absolutely he does, but the positioning's going to be different. Justin Kirby just behind, along with Ross Banfield, will be looking at this going, God, if we could just get ourselves half a car length here, we have a chance to really make life a nightmare for car 915.
Yeah, and I'm thinking here now that maybe these guys are actually being a bit too nice about it. They keep going to the outside of the 88, trying to make the pass work, not really able to make it happen. So it's going to get to the point where somebody's going to have to move that 88 off the bottom of the racetrack.
Wrong decision, you'd feel there, Christian. He had himself in line and decided the outside was still the way forward. Now he's left himself open to the 43.
Yeah, this is the danger when you kind of have two cars that are pretty equal and trying to pass somebody that they know they're quicker than. If you don't get the pass done quickly, you yourself end up losing out, and you end up losing out to cars that you know are going to be very, very difficult for you to repass. That's why the 915 is really trying to hold on the top side. He knows if the 43 of Kirby's by, it's going to be such a difficult ask to get back past him.
Absolutely it is, as it has been nice and calm at the front. Tasker pulling away from Vavroski and Melnarovic over the course of this stint, but the 915's been where most of the focus has been over the course of this. A couple of drivers out of the race now. Tom Dreiling and Joshua Wolf out. Matthew Dunhorse 10 laps down and out of the race. So 3 retirees so far. Even with the one fast repair, Mayer has had to bite the bullet. Fall back into line, is now in 13th place and is behind Ross Banfield. So disaster there in terms of that. But up further forwards where the interesting things are happening right now, Kurt Crum unable to stay with the top 3 despite the tyre advantage.
Yeah, we haven't talked too much about Vavrovsky and Melnaritz's pace, but they've been looking really strong. You know, they got up to the front. They haven't been able to challenge Pataska, but they haven't really looked under threat themselves, especially Melnaritz. He started in 15th, he's up in 3rd, and he's just running around having a good time, it seems.
And a good time they certainly are having. We are over the halfway stage here of this race. We're on lap 155 we're coming to right now. And for Dallas Pataska, he knows at any point he'll be due to make that pit stop, and it will at this stage be under green flags. We look at our race leader right now out there on circuit, and he's just trying to make sure that he is being as efficient as possible. Out to in to out again. It's very much watching poetry, seeing this number 23 out there driving the lead.
Yeah, and I mean, he knows what he has to do, and he's probably just waiting for the next caution. Really, the main part of this race where he's going to be vulnerable is when he makes that decision to pit. The good news for him is that some of his strongest competition is out of the race. Thunhorst, Wolf, Snyder, they're all, well, Thunhorst and Wolf are totally out. Snyder is 4 laps down. You know, they're kind of getting whittled away, and his threat, I think, at the moment is probably the 915 with Mayer, or the 43 of Kirby, if they can get to the front of the field.
And that is a big if, as we look at Ryan Mayer on the back of the Simability car there of Ross Banfield, who is doing just enough. And Banfield's just sticking that nose down low, trying to get a little angle to see maybe some of the drivers further along the track, maybe to try and get a move on Justin Kirby. Gets them very close there behind the car, and he's not quite in position, but this is what happens. You get stuck behind drivers. All of that train goes to Wayne Hutchinson right now, who's in 8th place, and as they try and work out what can they do in the early goings here, or now as they move into the later stages of the race, this mid to late part, really Wayne Hutchinson is the cork in the bottle here for this pack.
Yeah, absolutely, but nobody's really been able to make anything happen in terms of passing Hutchinson. We saw Harrod try, wasn't able to get it done. We saw Kirby trying to pass Partridge just ahead of him, he wasn't able to get it done. We saw Mayer trying to pass everybody and not able to get it done. So it's kind of a difficult deal as to what the approach for these drivers is right now. I think we're going to have to start seeing people trying to get each other off the bottom of the racetrack. It's at the point now where they're about half a lap behind Pataska, and it's really stacking up now behind Partridge.
Yeah, and that is certainly key. Tasker, though, is starting to deal with lapped cars at this stage. 52, as we look from Eric Mickey's perspective, that is a very beaten up and battered rear. You can see there, especially that rear left of what is Ryan Mayer's car, and that might be the issue. There's a look, though, and it's going to be on Partridge here. So the look certainly finds itself into play, and we saw that Partridge struggled on the top side, but Justin Kirby has got his wish. He's managed to maneuver himself low and get by, at least for the moment, by a nose on the number 88 machine.
Yeah, the difficulty now for Partridge is he's just going to get stuck up there. You see Banfield immediately filling that gap behind. 915 is going to follow the 777 as well. There might be an opening before Mickey can kind of close it up. Oh, actually Partridge is going to get tapped.
And he saves it. Crucially, he'll go to the back of the train for it. But that's how quickly you start trying to lead and take that space. And effectively, you've got to be a mean driver around here. You've got to take the space of the drivers around you if you want to get a move done quickly around this place.
Yeah, you pretty much do. It's kind of got that sort of, I said before, it's sort of like a fast Martinsville, but it's also got that sort of old school Bristol vibe to it where everybody's on the bottom, and you know, if somebody's slowing up the line, well, they're only going to be slowing up the line for so long before someone gets tired of that.
I certainly agree. You can't sit around and wait forever. Chances, they only appear a couple of times at a track like this at Southern National. It's been some wonderful work at the virtual Lucana, North Carolina here today. There's Ross Banfield trying to get the 777 car. 7's quite a lucky number in Asia, actually, and he'll be looking to try and get a good run forward, at least at this stage. He's from the Virginias. He'll be looking for a really good opportunity to get himself through. But Justin Kirby's the key here, and the next car up is Pete Harrod, second in the championship.
Yeah, and I'm actually kind of surprised that Harrod hasn't been working on Hutchinson a bit more than he has. Hutchinson is clearly the car that's checking everybody up right now, and I think Harrod needs to try and get something done, because if he doesn't, then Kirby's going to try and get something done on him.
Certainly does look that way. Lap 173 we are on to right now, and Justin Kirby's Black Magic Motorsports machine has been pretty consistent at finding a way up forward. It's been a little bit tougher over the course of this stint, but it has been a really good challenge so far to see how they are going. This group, though, is doing rather well at chasing down the next two, George Gruber and Cordell Cologne. Cologne has been a driver I'm really impressed with in this race so far, Christian. He's been up, he's been down, he's been all around, and he's managed to find that level, and he is driving well.
Yeah, we've seen that from him in the past, where sometimes actually when races kind of get away from him a bit, his recovery drives are really, really strong, and again showing that today. He actually started up in 12th, as you say. It's kind of been up, down, and all around. We saw him getting turned around, having a pretty big incident actually earlier on. So to see him back inside the top 10 and running 7th, actually looking quicker than Gruber, that's pretty good for him. The only problem is now Hutchinson is actually no longer the slow car, so to speak. It's Gruber, and now the line continues from Gruber all the way to the back of the field.
Yeah, it certainly does. We were just looking for a moment at Kurt Crum and Brian Barnes as they tried to make that challenge, but we got Gruber, Cologne, Hutchinson, Harrod, Kirby, Banfield, Mayer, Mickey, and Henderson on the back. So it goes all the way to 14. This group right now, and when you get a big pack like this, yes, they're being well behaved, but only a matter of time before someone starts to rock the apple cart, so to speak, and then you're losing your entire harvest.
Yeah, the checkups are starting to look pretty brutal now, and you see the 777 almost getting forced off the bottom, just trying not to run into Kirby.
Now he is.
Now the 915's underneath him, so yeah, that's not where you want to be.
No, taking that big line, arcing line to try and get himself as much drive of the exit as possible. This is defending on the outside, the last thing that you want to be doing around this circuit. Yes, Mayer's a bit damaged, and he's going to get an advantage by that respect, but Mayer is just trying to send it into every corner he can, trying to take as much space as possible. 43's going to start searching just in front of that as well. Isn't going to quite get there, but this is going to be a really important stage of the race. Lap 181, and you'd say at this stage, Tasker's going to be a worry about when he pits. We've had a really nice 40-lap green flag stint.
Yeah, I am wondering exactly how many laps he can do on a full tank of gas. Obviously, we've had quite a few cautions which are going to have helped him out, but I'm not sure he's going to be able to do the full 300 laps without pitting. I think he's definitely got to stop at least once, so he's got to be getting relatively nervous, but you know, there's a good opportunity here for him of a caution coming out. Everybody's really starting to stack up. The 777 gets a bit of a bump from the 86, but doesn't get turned around and is straightened up coming off the 4.
Here comes the 43, looking low, trying to get past Pete Harrod. Some say it's Pretty Pete as he goes through. I say that he's Pistol Pete because he can be sometimes on the money with that sort of respect. The 43 can't quite shut the door on that outside yet on Pete Harrod. Now he'll get the chance to. He's got the overlap, and now Harrod's stuck in the freight train mode. He's got Ryan Mayer down low.
Yeah, and he's got to try and get back in as soon as he can, because once Mayer's by him, you know that 777 of Banfield's going to be there.
You absolutely do, and it's just a case of when it rains, it pours sometimes. When it comes to racing like this, Harrod stuck on that outside. He's about a half car length back as he makes the turn in, trying to keep himself there. Now it's to the nose as he tries to work out whether he can get it done. And now, well, it's all the way gone. He's got to get low as quickly as he can because the 777's going to try and come up the track. Slides a little. Harrod, if he's ideal, he could slip in, but there's just not enough of a gap here. And, you know, finally, I think he's just about ready to get it done, but here comes the send down low from the 777. No, you've still got to leave that room. I'm here, buddy.
Yeah, he was really trying to create an opening, and he got so close to having enough to be able to drop back down, but the 777 just was never going to let him have it, you know, if he even had the slightest amount alongside. You see the 86 is forcing the 21 up the racetrack now.
Well, this is what happens if you're on the outside. You know, it's almost like a first class and a second class ticket. If you're not in first class, please get out of my carriage. And it's very much what we are seeing right now.
Yeah, and I was actually hoping that the top line would be able to hold on a little bit better than it has been. But, you know, with everybody kind of on the bottom and sort of being as aggressive as they are to sort of move cars off it, it's actually still producing a pretty good race.
I mean, it certainly is, but, you know, for Pete Harrod, he'll be lining up with the Bruce Arians philosophy, no risk it, no biscuit.
Yeah, and now he's at the tail end of the line. I imagine he's gonna get the work on everybody else the same way they have him, so let's see if he can move his way back forwards.
Let's see indeed. It's been some fantastic racing so far over the course of this. Pataska absolutely flying forward at the moment. He's 4.5 seconds clear at the front. Ryan Mayer we focus on right now in the top 10. They're dealing with traffic as well on the outside, so that's going to be a really important thing to deal with right now. Lap 193 of 300. They're dealing with the traffic and they're going to have to go through. And there at the back, there is Partridge dealing with a little bit of something right now, and that is the race leader going by. So you can see just how quickly you can go through. And that is going to be the swings and roundabouts that we see, which means that very soon Pataska's going to be on the back of that massive group of cars.
Yeah, and it's going to be really difficult for him. Obviously, everybody's in a line. They're going to force him to take the top. Nobody's going to give up the bottom, surely not. But he's about 3 seconds from reaching this pack, so he's going to be there. I think probably in the next 10 to 15 laps is my guess.
Yeah, so 10 to 15 laps, but that is also dependent on the fuel mileage as well that he's managing to get out of his Monte Carlo SS at this point in time. And it looks pretty good at this point in time. And I think that we all understand and know that it has been at the moment. Patience has been the key to this green flag run at this point in time. Gaps are starting to form. Brian Barnes starts to fall off the back now of Kurt Crum as second, third, fourth and fifth have almost found themselves in, I would say, social distancing mode.
Yeah, those guys have kind of sort of found out where their place in the field is, and I think they're probably quite happy with it, if I'm honest. I think Vaborovsky will take a second spot. Malner is definitely third from starting 15th. And Kurt Crum as well, obviously started right at the back of the field, 18th. He's up in fourth. And Kurt might be able to go forwards. We'll have to see if he's got anything for Melneritz. But I think on the whole, what you tend to get with oval racing is when everybody's in the top 5, everybody's having a good day and everybody's content to stay there. It's kind of outside of that group that you start to get the fighting happening. As the 17's getting turned around by Kirby.
Oh, and they're all going to go down low. We stay green, at least for the moment, as Mickey vans up all the way on the apron. trying to get it sorted. That's the last thing you want to see in front of the leader, but we are still green, and that would have been a golden eyes light up if you avoid the wreck from number 25.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, I said 10 to 15 laps. That's obviously been cut down quite considerably. Unfortunately for Sam Hartley, he's going another lap down here. That decision to stay out with the damaged car has really gone against him.
Certainly has, and the damaged car for Eric Mickey as well. He's on the back of the group. Banfield gets him the overlap right in front of the leaders, and that's sorted. Now, this puts a really difficult question in for these drivers as they try and deal with what they can. Wayne Hutchinson was the driver who got the slide on, and that put Ryan Mayer now up into 8th place. Key's going to be, how do you get through these drivers when they all want to battle and they don't want to cede the line and lose that track position?
Well, that's the tricky thing. Everybody knows that the bottom is so key, and obviously the defending car is pretty much going to get to the point where you're either going to have to move him or turn him in a sense to actually get by him. So that's going to be the key to it, is when you make the move to try and take the bottom, can you do it in a way that doesn't turn the car across your own nose? And obviously the defending driver has pretty much got to make no mistakes and make sure they never give up enough at the bottom to kind of get door alongside sort of thing.
Well, if you thought it was going to be easy here for Pataska, Eric Mickey 2 laps ago took the air from him and he got a bit of a slide on there. So Pataska's not having everything his own way right now, and there is reason for drivers like Eric Mickey to be aggressive right now. They want to keep the lap.
Yeah, and I mean, blue flags are not enforced on ovals, so I totally understand this. From Mickey, doesn't want to go lap down. And yeah, force Pataska to go by on the top side. He's got plenty of time.
Got plenty of time, he's got plenty of reason, and he's got to keep that door shut on that low side as they go through. We are on lap 208 here of this one. Checkups, contact, 43, sideways every way, and now we're going to get ourselves a caution, the 9th caution of the day, and Pataska avoids all of it absolutely fantastically and puts about a half dozen cars a lap down in the process.
Yeah, that was some skill and a lot of luck from Pataska to get through that, because there is really no way of pointing your way around this. I mean, where do you go? He's coming up the track, one's coming down the track. It just happened to be in the right place at the right time there.
Pretty sure Tom Cruise in a movie couldn't do that as well as Pataska did. That is a wonderful bit of driving there to absolutely put that into perspective. And now if there's any time to dive in, he's choosing right now. Great decisions then. He's gone 211 laps on the Sitters Pataska. As you see, the remnants of that replay, it was the 43 machine going all shades of sideways, Justin Kirby, and now everyone who has taken their pit stop will do now. We know that Pataska's the quickest car out there. One thing we haven't worked out today about Dallas Pataska, how he makes moves, and he will have himself 87, 88 laps to figure it out.
Yeah, and he's got to be a little bit worried about how hard it is for him to pass cars, because it wasn't easy for him to start lapping people right there.
Just getting out in time, Wayne Hutchinson, as you can see, 69 cars in, so Melnarovic is in, so too is Vavrovsky. I expect that Kurt Crum hasn't done much. Pete Harrod right now is your leader in this field as things stand, so that is really interesting. Pete to the point with Vavrovsky currently classified in 2nd position, so we've got all sorts going on right now in terms of who is where. Barnes is currently 3rd, and Pataska, through that stop, is still 4th place.
Yeah, I think the fortunate thing for Pataska is he was able to kind of drag everybody down pit road with him, with the exception of the couple of guys ahead of him, and I'm quite surprised that Vavrovsky's still out there, actually.
Yeah, I believe Vavrovsky may have made a stop to fall behind Pete Harrod. He may have only taken 2, though, which I think might be the key to where he's found himself into play. So we keep that in as a big range of focus over the course of this. So Pete Harrod with control of the field for the first time. He knows he's got to get some points on Dallas Pataska in the 23 and 4th position. Now's the time where you've got to make it happen. Have they pulled a master stroke in the 21? We got a green, we go again. Bobrovsky again looking aggressive there on that high side. A little late to the dance was Pete Harrod, and it's the 10 that goes around. Pataska's already up to third. You can't shut it down yet if you're Pistol Pete. And suddenly, it's going to be there. Dallas Pataska looking to move up on the high side. He's immediately up to second.
Yeah, it was a great restart by Bobrovsky. I'm actually kind of always worried that he's getting such good restarts, he might actually kind of overtake the leader too soon. But, you know, he got that done really, really nicely on the top side.
And sometimes when you get that advantage, you've got to use it immediately. Here comes Ryan Mayer to the high side, trying to get it sorted. Some of the damage looking a little bit better repaired on that rear left, and he moves himself up to third, washes out a little bit through 3 and 4, but he's okay. And now here comes Brian Barnes, and this is what happens when you don't pit after a long green flag stint.
Yeah, and I think for Harrod now, he's got to just try and hold on as best he can until the tyres start to equalize a bit more, because it will fall off a little bit for these guys who've taken fresh ones more rapidly than his own will kind of fall off. So he does have a little bit in hand there, so to speak, with the track position. And to be honest, I don't really think he had many other options. You know, he'd been shuffled all the way to the back end of the lead lap pretty much, and he had to try something.
Then speaking of trying something, Bobrovsky leads, but that is Dallas Pataska.
It's getting
just
turned around.
Oh dear.
Contact from the 7.
Oh, and there's the caution. Henderson, a full 180 into Partridge there. And Kurt Krupp, just smallest slide. He's trying to save it. He gets a tap, and it's the secondary tap from the 17 machine that gets it done. Wayne Hutchinson turning to 24. So he saved it. He saved it all the way to here. It's that tap that causes the caution.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. That could have worked out actually not really well, but, you know, minimal damage for the 24 there, but got tagged around by the 17 at the end. It's just a pretty unfortunate deal here. The 7's he's obviously got the line, but he just missed the bottom on entry, and it was just enough to run up into the side of the 24 and get that spin started.
Pete Harrod's dived into the pits, no surprises there. He's going to get himself more to go out with. We've got 11 on the leading lap. As things stands, Ray Partridge also down in the lane, trying to get that damage done. He took a mighty hit, of course, there to the front, Christian.
Yeah, that's a significant amount of damage, that's for sure. We'll have to see if he can actually repair that. If he's got his fast repair still, I'm not sure he does.
Well, if he doesn't, he's going to have to walk around with that until the end of this race. We are going to be on lap 225 next up, and when they next cross the line, there'll be 75 laps to go here from Southern National Motorsports Park, here with the Global Sim Racing Channel. Jake Sperry bringing you the action, of course, with Christian Schallner and Ryan Bauer on the cameras for us here today, provided by Dougie Beard. So, Bobrovsky then started third. Pataska was your pole sitter. You got Ryan Mayer, who has been toiling around in the mid-pack, but making great moves to get up there into third position. And then you've got the crew behind, who will all be chasing to try and get themselves into play in this one. Christian, who would you want to be and why?
I mean, I want to be Bobrovsky. I've got control of the restarts, and for him today, he's been really good on them. So yeah, totally want to be Bobrovsky. He's got relatively equal tires to Pataska. If he can get a good enough restart that it pulls the 915 of Mayer into that gap so Pataska can't drop down, I fancy my chances at that. I don't want to be Pataska right now. He's got to get a great restart to cover the 915.
We'll see if that's the case then. Lap 227 starts. Brilliant restart by Bobrovsky. He's been electric on them all day. Mayer looking onto the low side, trying to get through. Pataska's got too much drive, though. He covers off that into second position. Now looking high is Brian Barnes, trying to get through on the 4 and the back a little bit. Now Narovic and Cologne too wide as they exit 3 and 4. Big battles up and down the order.
Yeah, that was critical for Pataska to be able to get back down onto the bottom of the track. Now he can get to Bobrovsky and start working on him. What he didn't want to have is the situation that's going on between Crom and the 4 of Brian Barnes, where Barnes is just stuck on the top of the track. Looks like he's actually now able to get down, but lost actually a decent amount of time. Nope, the 7 of Crom is still underneath him as we go into 3 here.
Still is, but finally gets it sorted out. Not much you can do. Caution out on circuit. Big dramas. Wayne Hutchinson is around on track. It was contact with the 50 of Cordell Cologne as they tried to go through. It was a merging at the junction that never figured out.
You see Harrod involved with this as well, I think. Yeah, the 17 just misses the bottom a little bit, gets up into the left rear of the 50 and turns him around. We've seen that so many times today, and it's so easy to do, you know, especially when you're running the bottom, you're trying to make a pass. You kind of get more aggressive in terms of your corner entry, and that's actually the exact opposite of what you need to do. You think that you want to drive it in there to sort of move further alongside, but you actually want to kind of wind it back more to make sure you hit the bottom so you can get a really good drive off. And it's really hard to stop yourself doing, but yeah, that's the unfortunate result if you kind of make that mistake.
Yeah, and now you can see drivers going to get themselves back onto the lead lap, and I tell you who is. It's been a long, hard day for Jeff Schmeier, who gets the lucky dog and goes back onto the lead lap. He has been a lap down for nigh on 150 laps in this race, and he's finally got himself back into position again. So wonderfully working. Oh, and he just missed. You see it there in the back of shot. He thought about coming into the pits. He overshot it. He's going around again.
Yeah, it's probably the best decision, I think. And he'll have another opportunity to come down for tyres, I'm sure. But having that lap back is obviously is massive for him. A driver I kind of feel a little bit sorry for right now is, well, two drivers actually, David H. Baker and Isaac Snyder. Both those drivers 4 laps down. Obviously, early incidents in the race that kind of put them there. And I mean, they're still going, so, you know, credit to them for continuing on in a situation that is kind of reliant on luck at this point. Obviously, they're not going to get any positions by just making passes or whatnot.
10 cautions in this race. Number 10 gets the green flag and is underway once again from Southern National. Through 1 and 2, they come along once again. Nice and calm this time. The 4 still going to try and look up. The 7 still looking low. 1, 2, 3 of George Gruber's there, but keep an eye out on 21. Pete Harrod has been managing those fresher tyres through the field, and a little look low for the lead. Here comes the 23 of Dallas Pataska, trying to get it done for Vorosky. They'll remain too wide, and Vorosky taps the wall through 2, and now all of a sudden it's 23 back to the point.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that that's actually been as easy a pass for Pataska as it was. He got pretty lucky on that last restart there with Mayer. Didn't get a good run. Was able to get down low really, really earlier than the prior restart. And now back to the point. And I mean, for me, that's pretty much sealed it. I don't see how anyone's going to overcome Pataska now.
Well, the only driver I can think is Harrod round. Caution comes out, number 11 of the day, and it's Cordell Cologne who finds himself spun around coming out of 2, and that was contact with Partridge. We'll have a look at the Global Sim Racing Channel replay here. And Christian, you know, it's 2 into 1 there. Just trying to pinch. There was Cologne. Took a really wide line into the corner.
Yeah, you see Cologne obviously turned down from really high up the track. Partridge was a little bit off the bottom. Kind of both drivers just a little bit out of position there. You see Cordell was really high up. Partridge with a big slide. And a huge arc in. And I don't think he was expecting Partridge to be as far off the bottom as he was, but yeah, we keep seeing this same or at least similar sort of incident of cars getting together right at that sort of point in the corner. And you know, if you're on the top side, you've got to really be quite aggressive in running the door of the car underneath you, because if you don't, then they'll get a really good exit and it'll pretty much be day over for you. But there's just so much risk in it, as we keep seeing.
Tell you what, I want to give credit to the 54 car that's just got back out. 119 laps spent on pit road, and the car is finally fixed here, Christian.
Yeah, and he's got an opportunity to gain a couple of spots. I mean, he can only really get up to 20th, which isn't saying much, but you know, if he runs 19 laps, he'll be ahead of Thunhorst, and he's already passed Joshua Wolf now.
That's crucial here in terms of this race. Sometimes here, and especially with the oval mentality, they can see the moves and gains in the field. Crum, Gruber, Harrod, the big 3 who have really made progress in this race today. Don't count out Melnarovic either. There's a great run, but you know, sometimes the 1 positions here and there, they do matter as points come into play. So we still have the flags out, but next time by we'll go green. And it's Pataska in control. Harrod up to 7th, though. He'll want to get another one here on this run.
Yeah, and Harrod's actually making a pretty good recovery. Obviously, we saw that long green flag run. It kind of went against him. He got shuffled out, fell to the tail end. Then he made that decision to stay out on the old tires, and it just really didn't work out for him. But now, yeah, he's looking like he's got a chance at getting a top 5.
Pace sedan dives in, green flag, and we're underway again. Tasker immediately covers up high, making sure that Vavrovski's not got much as they go through. Mayer down on the low side, trying to pick this one up. Crum as well, looking pretty solid here as he searches for the 4th position. If you ain't first, you're last in a race like this. And Mayer trying to get to the point here to move up to 2nd. Has he got enough then in the battered and bruised 915? Answer to that is yes, he's half a car clear.
Yeah, I think he's going to get this done, but I think he's going to be kind of a bit frustrated with himself that he wasn't better on those prior restarts and able to get alongside Protaska, because it's going to be difficult now for him to make that pass. He has passed Vavrovski, is now 2nd. Obviously, we have to see on subsequent restarts how well that's going to work out for him. It's looked difficult to defend from that 2nd position.
4 goes wide, trying to attack the 1, 2, 3 at Gruber. He's dropped 2 already over the course of this restart, but the 21 isn't quite in position to attack it. And suddenly Brian Barnes knows he's in a race here as he chases down the 7 and the 1, 2, 3 just in front. There's contact behind. Partridge goes spread eagle. It's the 12th caution of the race.
Yeah, I got to feel a little bit for Partridge. I think he was a bit hard done to on this one. He tried to cover off the bottom, and I think he had every right to do so, and looked like he kind of just got shuffled up the track.
Yeah, that's okay. He actually got unsettled there on entry, coming in there from the 69 of Melnarovic, so there was one little bit of unsettling. He tried to go low. There's the 2nd hit. Round went Ray Partridge. Ray saying, enjoy your vacation. He wasn't too excited about that in the 88, and you can see it here from Melnarovic's perspective here. He gets into the dog bear car, just about, and then bang, there's the 2nd contact, and it was always going to end in trouble once he was that low.
Yeah, I mean, the first one was very, very ambitious. I think that the move wasn't really on, and then the second one I think is just a consequence of the first. I don't think he was meaning to hit him again, and certainly not to turn him around, but obviously if you're Partridge, you're going to be pretty mad about that one, that's for sure.
Well, I can tell you something now. David H. Baker's not going to mind. He's now only 2 laps back here, and he might get himself a chance to go through a couple of drivers. Barnes as well. Now, this is interesting. Brian Barnes has, I believe, made a stop here over that one. He was really dropping back. I think his tyres had just given up the ghost after the early pit stop. He'll move back to 12th, and he's got an advantage of about 50 laps on some of his competitors.
Yeah, we'll have to see what he can do with that. I suspect that's kind of going to be his play for the race now. He's not going to pit again.
It's definitely their play, but you know, this is the way that things go. This isn't an easy way to win races, and if you're going to make a way through the field, you'd rather have tyres late now than late never. So once again, Crum up 14, Gruber up 17, Harrod into 6th is up 13 spots. And it's these cycles which are bringing each other back to level. Ryan Mayer, we have not seen up at the point so far in these races. On this next restart, what does Mayer need to do in the 915 to really unsettle Dallas Protaska from that very comfy P1?
Well, he's had some pretty bad restarts, if I'm honest, and he needs to, this is the point where he needs to nail them, because if he doesn't, the 10 of Vavrovski is just going to take the place away from him immediately. So his best situation is that he can be to the right rear quarter panel of Protaska into turn 1. That probably means the pass isn't on, but we'll have to see.
We'll have to see. Green flag, and we are back running once again. Green flag in the air at Southern National here. Lap 254 they go through. Mayer taking the high line, should funnel into line, but Vavrovski still got the nose there, trying to think about it low. Room being given there, of course, not being too ideal in terms of the circumstances. Keep an eye on Jeff Schmeier making progress through the field. He was laps down for about 150 laps. He's trying to get past Melnarovic for 7th.
Yeah, and he's trying to use the top side to do it as well, and actually making some progress up there.
Someone who isn't, though, is Ryan Mayer. He is going to be there, and Vavrovski's got his chance. He's low. He's searching for it then, and if he can get what he wants, he'll be up back into 2nd position as he tries to dig. We'll look at it from Kurt Crump's perspective of the 7 bombshell car. He's got that eye on Vavrovski here. Protaska out to almost a 2nd right now, so this battling is really holding them up.
Yeah, and I feel like Mayer was just too nice on that restart. I think he actually had it clear, and he was clear enough that he should have just cut down and taken the bottom. And you know, if Vavrovski had wanted to give him a tap, then to try and hold on to it, I think he gave up that spot too easily. But now Vavrovski looks like he's almost doing the same. He's leaving the bottom open. I don't understand this.
Nor me. You get a little bit of leeway in terms of what your in-game spotter gives you, and that is the key here. I think they're getting those calls a little early here around Southern National, and that's why the doors are being left open. There is Ryan Mayer in third position in the 950, doing a decent job here, but now they've got to just settle in and dig. Pataska's gone away. They're going to be relying again on caution number 13 of this race, as now Pete Harrod finds himself under pressure. Look at this run from Jeff Schmeier here on this restart.
Yeah, Schmeier's really come from nowhere, but he's looked very, very strong on this restart. Was able to clear Melneritz quite easily, to be honest, and now actually looking like he's trying to get underneath Harrod, and we've seen that's pretty risky. It tends to end up with the car getting turned around, and he's definitely going to want to avoid doing that with Pete, but you know, he's there now into one, and it looks like Harrod's actually giving up the spot to him.
Well, no surprises. It looks like Pete Harrod's not got the car for the long run, and there goes Jeff Schmeier up into 6th position. His next chase is going to be a long chase here to get to George Gruber and the train in 2nd place, and this will be a huge run to get up inside the top 5 if he can manage to get it done. Keep an eye on the 4 as well. Brian Barnes has already got himself up into 9th place. He's got sights set on Melnarovic as the fight for 3rd and 2nd continues here out on track.
Yeah, and Barnes' driver has been a little bit unlucky today. It looks like he's got a pretty strong car, but he's been carrying damage for quite a while. You can see the nose on his car is pretty banged up, but you know, he's still doing a good job of it, and looks like he might have an opportunity to gain a few more spots here. He was starting 7th, running 9th, so he's on his way to a top 10, but I think he would have expected a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm sure he'd be hoping that there was something else there. Some great scrapping behind as well now. Kurt Crum finding himself under pressure here as Gruber, and they're dealing with the traffic of Eric Mickey as they just get around. Gruber's trying to find any angle possible to move up into 4th. They say that a good defense starts with a good offense, and that offense is very much there at the moment on show from the 1-2-3 machine.
Yeah, absolutely, and a lot of cars struggling to get around the 86 of Mickey, and looks like it's created a couple of opportunities. Obviously, the 123 is pretty close to the 7 now. Meyer is almost in that battle as well. I mean, I think it's fair to say he is in that battle. We'll have to see if he can do anything.
Yeah, it's very much a case that Ryan Mayer is just holding it 7/10 of a second, and big look up high side then from Jeff Schmeier behind as he tries to get a little bit of clarity in that section, and again, he gets loose. He gets very loose, and there goes the opportunity. We talk about small mistakes. Schmeier's fortunate that Harrod's dropping so far back, but you know, he was just starting to take himself out of that natural rhythm low side, and that can really unsettle a driver.
Yeah, I was surprised at the kind of the severity of the snap that he had there. Obviously, that's hurt him a lot, but before that happened, I was going to mention that given how far back Harrod had fell, it opens up the opportunity for Schmeier to start moving around to see if there's any way he can maybe get underneath the 123. And you know, when you've got a bit of breathing space, it gives you these opportunities. Unfortunately, it's kind of gone out the window because of that mistake.
Certainly has done around this Southern National Circuit. We are inside the final 30 laps then here around this beautiful, beautiful place. And the question now becomes not a case of can I win, but can I get the one position in front of me? There is your leader, Dallas Pataska, who has been sensational all race long. It will take dramas from the traffic in front. There's a car down very low at this point in time, and it looks like someone in trouble there. So that's Sam Harper, who ultimately, I think, has had a big moment and is trying to get the car off the road, and that will be a tow for Sam.
Yeah, and I think we've got another slow car out there as well.
A blown engine. It's a caution. It's a blown engine. Eric Mickey.
Yeah.
I heard something go pop as he went around, and I think the car's just expired on him.
Yeah, you see there on the front stretch, you saw Harper have the same thing. That's a really unfortunate coincidence for two cars. So you see there, Harper's engine blows right up ahead of him, and then Mickey coming around onto the front stretch has the exact same thing happen, I think.
Within 5 seconds, it's almost like you've got those engines on stereo. It gives one last chance, potentially, for Treva Pavrovsky and co to get themselves into position for what they want. It's a showdown here thanks to blown engines, and right now we know as well that there are no green-white checkers here towards this finish. We have to keep that into I would say comparison right now. If they get themselves into the final four and they throw a caution, that's it. The race result will be over, and now only one lap back will be car 33.
Yeah, David H. Baker is probably going to be one caution shy of getting back onto the lead lap, is my guess.
Well, we'll see if it goes green all the way to the end. He has been working so hard. He was 4 laps down about 30 laps ago. He's now down to just 1 lap down. So I wouldn't put it out of the realms of possibility, but if you're in for a penny, you're in for a pound. You've got to get yourself in. If you're in for a cent, you're in for $1. That's sometimes the way that it goes. Partridge getting more repairs. He's still back out and away on the leading lap, but the focus is going to be around car 23, Dallas Pataska, and how good Treva Pavrovsky, who's worked his way back into second position over that stint, how good his restart can be to really go aggressive against Pataska. He's got to feel at this stage that he's got to get aggressive and get into the door maybe of Pataska, maybe go a little bit lower on his first corner, see if he can unsettle.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't really fancy his chances from the outside lane, but he has made some mega restarts this race. And if he could be nose to nose with Pataska into 1 and 2 and pinch him down, as you say, get really on his door, he might be able to make something happen.
Well, now's the time and place. iRacing Sedan dives in, green flag, and we're getting going here. We have 20 laps to figure out a winner at Southern National, and it's a great start from Pataska. He's got what he wants. Mayer's down low, and so is Gruber, looking to move for 4th place. So some great restarts that we see from the low line paying off at this point in time. Barnes as well gets through Melnarovic.
Yeah, man, really needed a good restart, and he got it finally.
God, and this is brilliant. You can see how much they're fighting on the high side. It's Jeff Schmeier trying to get the move done on the 7 of Kurt Crum as they go into 1 and 2. Meyer has got himself through up into 2nd position, and they fight on the exit behind Harrod and the 4 of Brian Barnes. Watch out for Barnes. He might sneak a top 5 through this.
Yeah, he's actually making good progress here. Right now, up ahead, it looks like Crum is not really that quick. The 30 of Schmeier actually did get to his outside, had a really good opportunity, but got in the wall. It dragged him back. 21 of Harrod is going backwards right now. He's really not been able to get anything going on this restart.
No, his tyres have been something of a cause for contention as he gets into the back slightly at the 4 who gets loose, and they're okay. They'll continue on. Melnarovic now will try and search to the inside of Pete Harrod, and he's going to pick one up here. Harrod fading fast here at Southern National.
Yeah, I'm not really sure why Harrod is just always struggling on these restarts, and ooh, a big snap from Partridge behind as well.
Yeah, you can see it again. He's trying to deal with a car that's just been in for a few repairs here and there. It will handle slightly differently stint to stint, and that's what Ray Partridge is struggling with down the back of this group. But they'll have 13 laps, lucky for some, a baker's dozen here to finish out this race. And Pataska is clear, and he is cleared by 3/4 of a second right now. Down low goes Partridge.
Yeah, and Partridge's car has kind of looked not optimal, I would say, all day, but having a set of tyres at the end might work out for him. It looks like he's going to, at the very least, be inside the top 10. Harrod, unfortunately, is going backwards. He might even fall out of the top 10 before this is done.
Cologne now is going to move up into that position. There's your leader, Dallas Pataska. He's doing well. Mayer is keeping himself quite honest here in this one. He's getting himself along to a similar pace, but again, it's just starting to drop out of the exit of 4. There is Gruber. He's got a podium. Well, technically you do get one, but it won't matter as much on an oval. But 3rd place, he's definitely got his eyes on in the 1-2-3 machine.
Yeah, Gruber's had a really, really strong race. We haven't ever really talked much about him on ovals, but here, up from the very tail end of the field, and he's been running in the top 5 for kind of a majority of the race, and honestly, he's looked like he's totally belonged there. It's not by luck or anything like that. He's got himself into position, and he's earned that 4th spot.
He has. Schmeier's car is as loose as a goose right now. He's just dropped the position to Barnes, and there is Melnarovic trying to go down to the inside, trying to figure out if he's got a move done at this stage. We are on lap 293 figuring it out. 8 to go, and Milnarovic still low, still chasing as the lead battle continues to stay in and around, but I think it's just about to snap the rubber band. Schmeier way out on the outside. He drops now back behind Partridge.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for Schmeier because he had a really strong run. He got up to the very fringes of the top 5, and it's just not worked out for him on this last restart.
Certainly hasn't here. There is your leader, and this is what they are. That's Isaac Snyder, the driver we've been on board with for the majority of this race today, and he's found himself many laps down. He's now 5 laps adrift, but we're now getting into that fantastic territory where you can say from this point onwards that it could be caution ends the race. Here, the traditional way iRacing goes, we got 5 and soon to be 4 to go.
Yeah, this can't happen soon enough for Pataska to reach 4 to go here.
Absolutely. This has been an incredible race. He has been the most dominant driver out there so far, and I'm sure there are still drivers hoping that there's one position there. Still not over 3rd place, but Bobrovsky doing just enough right now with 3 at the line.
Yeah, Gruber about 3/10 back. He might have an opportunity on the very, very last lap, but he's going to have to close this down. He's definitely not close enough to even think about a contact pass.
Well, a contact pass it might have to be, but it's going to be a case of can you get there. It's looking like struggles, but it's not been struggles so far for the 23. White flag is going to come out in the air at Southern National. One more revolution of this circuit remains. It's been an hour and a half of tough grinding and dueling. But car 23, just like they say, how about them Cowboys? How about Dallas Pataska? He's dominated today and wins at Southern National.
Yeah, absolutely crushing performance. I mean, even when he got set back by his pit stop, he just never looked in doubt. He got back to the front faster than we've seen anybody else today. Even made that topside pass work when he needed it to.
And this is the sort of end of the season that you find here in majors as well. Really, Christian, that is aggressive, is gritty. You've got to work for the points in the late stretches of the major season, and he has absolutely worked those points. When you consider Pete Harrod outside the top 10 late in that race, he's given himself a huge buffer going towards the next rounds at Brands Hatch.
Yeah, he really has. And, you know, he's been relatively unlucky in the early season. There was a couple of times where really good results just got away from him. Most of the time actually out of his control. So to see him kind of actually, you know, pick himself up and recover from that. And now recently he's had some really strong performances. Obviously Claessens has kind of fallen by the wayside a little bit, which is unfortunate. It would have been nice to see a good battle between this pair. But, you know, I mean, Dallas has really earned the last couple of races.
He certainly has. The race may be over, but our conversations are far from it. Join us for post-race coverage after this.
iRacing is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics, engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams. Race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12 Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Global Sim Racing channel. A fantastic result then on what was one of the most dominant drives we have seen at an oval in a very long time. Short track racing is always difficult, but this was where strong results were needed today. Confirmation of that, an hour, 32 minutes and 50 seconds later, Dallas Pataska, the pole sitter, picked up the W, did so by 1.5 seconds on a 20-lap green flag stint to finish off proceedings. Ryan Mayer was second, with Treva Vavrovsky there rounding out the podium in third. George Gruber picked up fourth ahead of Kurt Crum in fifth, and a late decision to pit from Brian Barnes certainly worked out. Sixth position overall. Progress worked well for Davin Melnarovic. He got seventh, and Ray Partridge, who pitted on that final green flag, that final caution, I should say, managed to make his way all the way back up into eighth place. Jeff Schmeier looked like he could have been on for a top five. His tyres fell away towards the end. He got ninth. Cordell Cologne rounded out the top 10.
Pete Harrod missed out on the top 10, fell back to 11th after a pretty up and down race for him. Wayne Hutchinson, driver of the 17, we saw him involved in many incidents today, but does come away with 12th place and the last car on the lead lap. David H. Baker, he spent the majority of the event about 4 to 5 laps down, did get back to 1 lap down, but unfortunately for him, never got quite back to the lead lap. Isaac Snyder, another driver in that same situation, fell 5 laps down early on, unfortunately finishes 6 laps down in 14th. Ross Banfield, driver of the 777, we saw him have a really strong run in the middle of the race, but unfortunately numerous incidents took him out and he finishes in 15th. Sam Harper, driver of the 52 and one of our championship contenders, had a miserable day. He made a decision to stay out with a damaged car pretty early on, and unfortunately it just didn't work out for him. The engine let go on him and he finishes 16th. Eric Mickey, another driver who had a strong car but just wasn't able to make the best of it, finishes in 17th. Travis Henderson in the 24, he's back in 18th. Justin Kirby, driver of the 43, he was very strong, but unfortunately numerous incidents took him out as well. He finishes in 19th. Tom Dreiling back there rounding out the top 20 with Matt Thornhorst and Joshua Wolf in 21st and 22nd.
It's worth noting that Tom Dreiling did make it to the end, but ultimately did so many laps down, trying to get himself back into position. Dallas Pataska, though, joins us right now. A big victory here. Dallas, that is an incredibly important drive for you. You lead the championship, you come into a short track oval, and you pretty much put your rubber stamp on, I want this championship. You've got to come and take it from me.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. This was the last race I really had any previous experience with, looking at the rest of the schedule, so it was important to me for these last couple of races to get through them, all the way going back from the Southern 500 to Monza and now this week, and come out of these races strong, and I did that by winning them all, so I'm in the best position I think I can be at this point in the season, and it's just a matter of getting through these next last few rounds with some decent finishes.
And those decent finishes are going to be important. Talk about, though, when you did come in for that stop, you went over 200 laps on your stint. You give yourself a chance then to go out, to go and attack. How important was it to gain those positions over those quick runs from 4th to 2nd and then from 2nd to 1st?
Oh, it was huge. Judging by, I think other guys were on 2 tires. I'm not entirely sure who was all on what, but getting back to the lead and getting in control of the race was a key for me. I had 2 priorities with this race. One was not to wreck, and the other one was to win it, in that order too. So I believe it was Trevor that I was trying to get back to getting the lead. I think he took 2 tires, so if he didn't make the mistake he made when I passed him, it could have been another 40 laps before I got the job done. So it was definitely, I saw the mistake and I had the attack on that when I saw it, and luckily it all worked out, and here we are talking in victory lane.
Absolutely. And of course, next time out is going to be a really big challenge. We move to the Skip Barber's car that's been in the service for a very long time. And for you, a chance to attack Brands Hatch. How does it move from, say, a short track towards a car that's very draft dependent? What do you think the differences are going to be in terms of going from closed to open wheel?
That's a good question. I'm not entirely sure. I don't have much experience in the Skip Barber. I know of it, and that's about it. It's going to be an interesting race, but when I saw that on the schedule, that's why I knew I had to make an emphasis on finishing well over the course of the first half and up to this point in the season. And for the most part, I've been able to do that. So, we'll just kind of see what happens. My goal in that race is nothing special. Again, it's finish first, and then we'll see where we end up on the timing charts.
Well, the floor is yours for your victory and, of course, for your team, VRS Satellite. Shout out sponsors. Who gets it done for you?
I really just want to thank everybody over at Satellite, all the way up and down the chain from Cy to, I believe we got another guy, Alex Russell, running at America's later tonight. Looking forward to running with him. And I just want to thank everybody over at Majors and all the organizers, Mike, putting this on the schedule. Don't get into these late models very often, but when I do, they're always a lot of fun to drive. So, and of course, I'd like to thank you guys over at GSRC. You guys always put on a great show.
Or is it all there? Dallas Pataska joining us then at Victory Lane. Just outside of that, though, was Ryan Mayer. He stood by with Christian Schallner.
Ryan, it was kind of a bit of an up and down race, but eventually you did kind of get back to the point where we felt you should have been on pace. You had that battle with Trevor at the end, and you were able to come out on top. Not quite enough to take on Pataska for the win, but you must be happy with the recovery drive to second, right?
Oh, yeah. I was actually still have my fast repair. I decided not to use it in case I blew my engine later, but Trevor and I raced real clean. That was a pleasure to do that. Got to thank Kurt for last-minute setup changes, tweaking. I wish I could have been battling up front all day, but that just wasn't the case.
Yeah, it definitely looked like you had the pace for it. Yourself and Trevor were obviously very, very quick. And towards the end, you were able to kind of get back to that top 5 area. But one sort of key part of the race, which either made people's races or totally derailed them, was the decision on when to make pit stops and whatnot. And I think, unfortunately for yourself, you were kind of a little bit on the wrong end of that. Can you kind of talk us through what the decision-making process for that was like? Because we saw Pataska stayed out essentially as long as possible and then made that just one pit stop, whereas a lot of the field was pretty divergent on that.
I started with lower fuel, so I just was looking for more pit stops, kind of splash and goes, and right side tires, and I thought that the outside lane would come in with right side tires, but the carnage ahead kind of caught that off guard.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring up the outside lane because it was something that I think both myself and Jake were expecting to see a little bit more passing with. I know definitely I was. I thought for sure with fresher tires you would be able to make that work a little bit better than it seemed like it was possible to, but it kind of gave the race sort of that sort of old school Bristol type vibe of where everybody was fighting for the bottom. And can you kind of talk us through what that was like as well? Because it looked like there was a lot of sort of strategy in deciding when to attack, when not to, and kind of forcing people to try and make a pass that then didn't come off and then sort of taking the position from kind of thing.
Oh, definitely. I was definitely using the rear view mirror. If I was side by side with someone and I was on the outside, if there was a gap there, I would go on slot in between there and make the person behind brake and go to the outside if possible.
Definitely interesting stuff. And next time out, something totally different. Skip Barber's running at Brands Hatch Indy. You got any thoughts on that for us?
I really haven't driven that car at all, so I have no idea what to expect.
Well, I think definitely it'll be an interesting one then. And as a heads up, I would expect it to be very much a pack race. It's quite hard to ever pull any gaps in those cars. So it should be, again, kind of more tight battling like today. And before we let you go, is there anybody that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Bombshell Motorsports again. Kurt for his last-minute tweaks on the setup, and Forge over in the Americas for our alignment and offering the baseline setup.
Great stuff. And once again, congratulations on the second place finish, and thank you for coming and chatting with us today.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it. That was Ryan Mayer finishing in second position. Christian, we'll take a little bit of a thought here as we move over now from this position in North Carolina. We head to Forkham in Kent. We head ourselves to the wonderful, wonderful position coming up. That is Brands Hatch. It's completely different, but very similar at the same time in terms of the way they battle out there on the 24th.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, a very, very different car. Not the fastest car, I think it's fair to say. And around a track that is, well, it's not quite an oval, but, you know, it's relatively simple in a sense. But I expect the kind of racing we'll see will be really, really similar, actually. Obviously, it's pretty much a pack racing car. You have that whole run pretty much out of the last corner all the way down to the hairpin that's realistically near flat out. And I think we're going to see some really good action there, that's for sure.
I certainly think we are as well. So, unfortunately, that's going to bring proceedings over towards an end for us here today at the Major Southern National 300. We'd like to thank you all for tuning in to tonight's race from the Southern National Motorsports Park. And we'd like to extend our thanks over towards the Major Series for organising all of what has been going on today. Of course, we have to give a massive thanks to all of the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts, which are listed here on screen, with additional thanks going to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music here. You can see the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. As well, we have to thank the team here today who have been around. There are some of our tags that you can catch us on: Discord, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram. Make sure you get yourself in on those. You can follow our social media, and please check our merchandise store, of course, as well, simracingmerch.com/GSRC. We keep a link in the description below, so don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for all of that. From the team today, of course, from Christian, from Ryan, and from Dougie, and myself, Jake Sperry, it's been a pleasure to bring you this action here today. Peter Mackay, unfortunately, MIA for us here today, but he's an amazing commentator nevertheless. Next time out, it will be the Formula Ford Festival in the Skip Barbers. Of course, that will be on the 24th. We saw that coming along. Join us 11:55 a.m. Eastern, or for those in Europe, 3:55 GMT as we get ready for that. But on top of that, there is more coming up tonight. The Americas region is going to be taking on its challenge from 8 o'clock Eastern. They're going to be heading to Five Flag Speedway for their challenge and their home of the Snowball Derby. We'll see how that will challenge for them. We also have many upcoming races coming along. They're listed on screen, so please check them out and mark them down on your calendar. But from us here today at the Global Sim Racing Channel, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.